Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, Masechtas Bava Kama, Dav Chaf Vav. We're going to begin on the bottom of Chaf Hayamid Bays, 4 lines from the bottom. We know when it comes to Shein and Regel, the din is that you are not chayiv in Rosh Hashanah, but perhaps we can learn through a Kal V'chomer that in fact maybe you would be chayiv. How's that? Ma Karen Shibrashos Nizik in Mishal Melchatzi Nezek. We know it comes to Karen the first few times as it is considered to be a tam. The din is that you only pay Chatzi Nezek, but Rishus Rabim Chayeves, you're chayev at least something in Rishus in the Rishus Harabim. So Shin Regish Rishus Nizik Mishal Nezek Shalom and in Rishus Ram Chayev. So just like when it comes to Karen, you're chayev in Rishus Harabim. So, Kal V'chomer, you should be chayiv when it comes to Shein V'Regel in Rosh Hashanah, because after all, if they're chayiv just like Karen in Rosh Hashanah, in the Rishus HaNizik, so then certainly it should be chayiv in Rosh Hashanah. So, Merkrav Yer B'Snei Acher, V'lo Rosh Hashanah. So, it's beautiful Kal V'chomer, but you can't learn out of Kal V'chomer if it goes directly against a pasuk, and the pasuk says it's only if it's in Rishus HaNizik, but not in Rishus Harabim. As we continue in Chaf Vav Manav, Midi Kule Kamrinan Palga Kamrinan. We're not saying that necessarily by Shein Regel you have to pay full, but at least maybe pay half. Maybe it's like this. When it comes to the din of Shein of Karen, we know you pay Chatzi Nezek. So maybe it's the same thing when it comes to Verbis De'acher, Shein V'Regel, you should pay Nezek Shalim. However, coming to tell you, if it's not Verbis De'acher, but rather Rishus Harabim, we should pay Chatzi Nezek. So V'chra, no, V'chatzu es Kasboi. Kashmol Zev, V'loi Kasmo Shul Acher. When it says that the money is divided up, that's only by Karen and nothing else. So only this din of Chatzi Nezek is only by Karen, but not by Shein V'Regel. And therefore, you're patur Rishus Harabim. And now we're going to continue with another Kal V'chomer. Maybe you should only have to pay half damages in this case. Karen, because my Karen should be chayeves. Even though it's in Rishus Harabim, you're still chayev. So Rishus HaNizik and Rishus HaNizik, we only say you pay half. So Shein V'Regel Rishus Harabim patur completely. So maybe when it comes to Shein V'Regel, we should learn from Karen that when it comes to Rishus HaNizik, you only should pay Chatzi Nezek and not Nezek Shalim. So we're crying Yishalim Tashlumin Malya. It says you should pay a complete payment. It says Rashi, Meitav Sedem, Meitav Karmi Yishalim, Gamri Mashma. I'm not sure why you can't say V'chatzu as Kasboi, why you couldn't just learn out from there. Okay. But this is also certainly a good answer. What maybe another Kal V'chomer. Maybe Karen should be completely patur. Why? When it comes to Rishus HaNizik, when it comes to Shein V'Regel, you pay full damages, Rishus Harabim patur, but nonetheless you're patur Rishus Harabim. So Karen should Rishus Nizik is Chatzi Nezek. By Karen, you only pay half damages, so probably in Udin Rishus Harabim patura. If by Shein V'Regel you don't pay anything, then certainly by Karen you shouldn't have to pay anything in Rishus Harabim. So Rabbi Yochanan Merkra Yechatzun Ein Chatzi Nezek Cholok Lo Rishus Harabim Lo Rishus HaYachid. When it says Yechatzun, it should be divided. We don't make a distinction whether in Rishus HaYachid, Rishus Harabim, the din is the same, and therefore you always pay Chatzi Nezek. Okay, V'hi Adam Chai B'Koifer Kal V'chomer. So here we continue with more Kal V'chomers. We're saying maybe a person should be chayiv kofer. Says Rashi, what does that mean? There is a din kofer. So Rashi says kagoyin b'mezid. Let's say a person kills on purpose, v'lo asrubei, and there was no hasra. Delesi bar katala v'lo bar golos. Since he wasn't given hasra, he can't be sentenced to death. He's not a bar golos. That would only be if it was b'shogig anyway. But without hasra, there's nothing to talk about. But maybe at least this guy, without hasra, should still have to pay kofer. Ma, sure. When When it comes to a shore, there's no din of paying the arba devarim if it damages. Even though all you do is you pay nezek, you don't pay tsar, ripoy, shevis, or boishes. So adam shechayev, but nonetheless chayev b'koifer. If an animal kills a person, there's a din koifer. So adam shechayev b'arba devarim eder din shehi chayev b'koifer. So then certainly a person should be chayev b'koifer. So Makra b'chol asher yusas olav. So the pasuk says olav lo adam. It's talking about when it comes to the damage of an ox, you pay koifer. But when it comes to the damage of a person, you don't pay koifer. All the din is you either get misa or you get galus. But since there was no hasra, we're not going to give this person misa, can't give him galus, and he's also not going to get koifer either. So maybe in addition to nezek, shor should have to pay the other things. So again, when it comes to shore, we're more strict as chayv and kaifer, so it should certainly also be chayv and arba devarim. So we're called ish ba'amito. The pasuk says ish kiyitin mum ba'amito. So that teaches us that velo shor ba'amitoi. It's only by a person, but not an ox. So that pasuk, which is referring to the arba devarim, is daf when it comes to a person that does damage, but not a shore. Iboilus. Now the Gemara poses the following question: Regel should darsa al gabi tinuk b'chatzer hanizik mahu should tishalem kaifer. If you have an animal that trampled with its legs on a child in the chatzer hanizik, is there a din of having to pay kaifer in that situation? Says Rashi, the chiyuva de regel b'chatzer haniziku, because the chiyuv of regel took place in the chatzer of the nizik. So miamrin, do we say mi did havia karen? That when it comes to regel, it's the same thing as karen. That when it comes to karen, when it gores with a horn, kivanda of a trait tlasses zimni. Once it does this a couple of times, 3 times, orchehu u'mishalem kaifer, it's considered to be already a mu'id, and therefore you pay kaifer because it has this pattern of damaging, and therefore afterwards it's considered to be a mu'id to the extent that you have to pay like a shor mu'id doing it the third hachinami loshna, that we should say just like the shor hamu'id by Karen. So to regel, we know the first time it's already considered to be a mu'id, so therefore you should have to be Karen. You should pay koifer immediately. Well, dilma Karen kavanas al hazik, hayin kavanas al hazik. Maybe only time you pay koifer is dafka when it comes to a killing with a horn, because a horn, as we said, means it's kavanas al hazik, has the intention to kill or to damage. Over here, regel, we say it's the derech of its walking, but it's not that intended to kill. So maybe in this situation, there's no din koifer. Tashma. So you have a situation where the ox went into someone else's property, and it was without permission. But nagchol l'balabayas umes, and he gored the person to the extent that he was killed. So hashor beskila, we say that we're going to kill the shore because it's a shore niskol. Ubalav, and the owner of this shore, bein tam bein mun mishlam kaifer shalim, Dibber Rav Tarfon. He says right off the gate, it doesn't matter. This ox that killed in this person's domain, so they have to always pay kaifer shalim. Kaifer shalim, batam Rav Tarfon minole. How does he know that there's a concept, even if an animal is a tam, that you still pay kaifer shalim? V'amishum desavalei Rav Yossi Glili. T'yomer tam misham chatzi kaifer b'shus harabim. That according to Rav Yossi Glili, he holds that when an animal is a tam and it kills in the Rishus Harabim, that there's actually a din of paying chatzi kaifer. Umaisi la mikal v'chaymer meregel, and he learns out from a kal v'chaymer of regel, which Rashi at the end says over here, Eino din shibrishus hanizik kaifer shalim midigam Rav Tarfon hachi al meika kaifer beregel al meika kaifer beregel. Clearly there is. So Rashi says like this: Ma regel shibrishus harabim patim minizakin. When it comes to regel in the rishus harabim, you don't pay damages. Rishus hanizik nezik shalim. but in the Rishus HaNizik you pay full damages. So Karen Shebishus Harabim Chatzi Kaifer, you pay half damages. So Enudin Shebishus HaNizik Kaifer Sholem. So then you certainly should have to pay Nezik Sholem. So the point of all this is we clearly see that when it comes to regel, there is a din kaifer. So it's a raya. Some Rav Shimi Minarda Tana Minazikin de regel Maisi law. So he says that we're learning this regarding to the nazikin of regel. So in other words, it may not necessarily be a raya. So this was actually the Rashi over here again. Menazikin the regel ma'asila. Oilam leka kaifer b'regel. Really, there is no kaifer when it comes to regel. V'hachi gamer Rav Tarfon. Ma regel shvishus rabim patim menazikin. Brishus and nizik nezik shalim. Karen shbrishus rabim chatzi kaifer krav yoseg glil. Enodin shbrishus and nizik kaifer shalim. He's not saying that you should have to pay when it comes to regel that you pay kaifer. He's just saying that we see that when it comes to regel, you're completely potter from the zikin in the rishus but in the rishus and nizik you pay nezik shalom, but it has nothing to do with paying kaifer. The kal v'chomer is based on damages, and therefore based on that he says so the din should be you should have to pay nezik shalom in the rishus and nizik, but it's not a raya that regel there's a din kaifer. Let me make sure I said that again. That the Kal V'chomer teaches us again that when the animal kills Bereshus and Nizik, that you pay koifer shalim, complete koifer, but it doesn't prove anything when it comes to regel. Maybe that's only by Karen. Okay. All right. So that's what it means. When the zik in the regel ma'aseh law. Actually, I think I read this Rashi twice, but that's the in the teretz. So v'lifrach. Why don't we ask Kasha? Mal nazikin de regel shechein yeshin be'esh. When it comes to regel, says Rashi, shechein yeshin be'esh. Timer b'kaifer shen be'esh. There's no din kaifer if, let's say, someone gets killed by fire. So maybe you can't win out this kal v'chomer because we see that regel has more chumras. So mitamoin, so you actually can learn out from tamoin, says Rashi, shepata be'esh. Something was just hidden, and it gets burnt up, you're not chayiv when it comes to the fire. But chayiv b'regel, but you're still chayiv with the regel, u'maisi lahacha. Now let's look at this Rashi. Ma regel sh'rishus harabim patur meklum. Regel b'rishus harabim, we know you're completely potter. Chayiv b'rishus nizik. You're chayiv in rishus nizik. Afil al tamoin, even if it's hidden, you're chayiv nesek shown by regel. So Karen shebishus harabim chatzi kaifer. So certainly Karen, you would have to pay kaifer sholim in rishus and nizik. So mal latamid shechein yesh b'bor. So this also applies when it comes to a pit, says Rashi. There's an asterisk here. She'im hoye gedi tamoin b'sak misgal g'vanaf labor chayiv, that it falls into a pit. Even though it was tamoin, you'd be chayiv. So mekalim. So you can learn out from kalim. Says Rashi, potter buhu. That's a bor. As we know, by kalim they're potter in a bor. And again, you can learn out the same kal v'chomer we said before. Yeah, mal kalim sheshin be'esh. Mekalim temunim, mal kalim temunim sheshin be'adam. Again, so you can keep asking these questions. That when it comes to kalim temunim sheshin be'adam, it has a din. When it comes to a person. We talk about it from there. So instead of saying that it has something to do with Zakin and therefore winning out of kal v'chomer, because it wouldn't be good kal v'chomer, you have all these pirchas on it, and therefore the kal v'chomer stands as we originally want to say it. Which is this. That when it comes to Karen, there's a din nezik shalim. So when it comes to regel, there's also going to be a din nezik shalim, which is how we're learning out. If in fact there would be kaifer regel, that it has to be the ika kaifer regel. These are not a lekaifer regel. If you want to say there isn't, but tanam and nazikin the regel ma'asil, and we said the whole kal v'chomer had to do with damages. Lifrach can ask a more straight question. Mal nizokin the regel shechin yeshin beregel. When it comes to the damages of regel, applies to regel. It says Rashi Tamer b'kaifer shein beregel. But right, you can just say that one has to. There's damages by regel, but there's no kover beregel. So like the whole kavachar wouldn't stand. Allah shemanu b'kaifer the regel ma'isila al me'ika kaifer regel shma mina. So how can we see this as a raya? Okay, question 1. Iboilhu. Regel shedarsa al gabi tinuk b'chater nizik mahu shisham kaifer. Okay, so this is what we just did. So the Gemara said, the question, man nifshat. So what's the answer? The answer is yes, there is kaifer b'regel. Umehechin ma'isila. It's a little bit harder. Let's see how he writes it. So if he learns it out, the Rav Tarfin, the Karen Tama B'Shus Nizik, Mishal Kaifer Shalem, Vel Karchach Maregel Yolaf Lo Shmamani Yesh Kaifer B'Regel. When it comes to Karen Tama and the Rishus and Nizik, you pay Kaifer Shalem. So too when it comes over here, when it comes to Regel. So let's just see how. Let's just write this out cleanly. So let's see. Shabbat is going on us. Kaifer Shalem. So it's like this. Tam mishalim chatzi kaifer rishus arabim u'maisilah mekavachayim meragel alma ika kaifer meragel. Okay. Question 2 we didn't do yet. TA we didn't do yet. TB 15 we didn't do yet. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. It says the Masnisan. Adam Mudal Oyum. When it comes to a person, you're always considered to be a muad. Ben shaygig, ben mazid, ben air, ben yashin. If you're awake, asleep, doesn't make any difference. Simes ein chaverai. You blind your friend's eye. Vishibar as a kalim. You work as kalim. Misham nezik shalom. You pay full damages. Okay. Rashi says even if it's b'shaygig. Says Gemara. Katani. So we learned. Katani simias ein chaverai must be due to shibar as a kalim. Why do you mention these two cases? We're making connection to the two. Mahasam nezek in arbitavarim loy. In this case, you only pay nezek, but not the other 4 things. Simas ein chaver nezek in arbitavarim lo, says Rashi. Delo mechavi arbitavarim el o mezid o karvel mezid. Doing the chayiriva and the nashim the hasim ksiva ripa v'shavas. So it has to be to be chayiv the arbitavarim. You have to then you're chayiv. You're only chayiv if it's b'mezid or karvel mezid. We'll have to understand what that means. But if it was b'shaygeg, you're not going to be chayiv bar b'devarim. This mission is only telling you you're going to be chayiv for nezek, for nezikin. Okay. As we continue to chaf vav amid beis. So min hanimili. How do we know that nezek is going to be chayiv even b'shaygeg? So Amar Chizkiya v'chein Tana de Chizkiya. Also Tana de Chizkiya says, or the pasuk tells us explicitly, petza tachas patza, regarding different a wound. So this is an extra pasuk. So we say l'chayv on shaygig kamezin el inis karatzin. So hame boyle litin sarba makam nezek. We actually need that pasuk to teach you that even with nezek, they're still then paying for tsar. In kain lichtav kar petza bapatza. My tachas patza shma min atart. It teaches you that there's a din that you're going to be chayiv nezik and even b'shaygeg. And if we be mezid, you'd also be paying with tsar. Amar Rabba haisa even munachas lo b'cheikai. Let's say a person has a stone that is in his lap. Okay. V'lo hikerba. He wasn't paying any attention. V'aman, he stood up, v'nafel, and it fell down. And obviously it did some serious damage. So in the zikin chayiv, because even though it was b'shogeg, you're chayiv b'shogeg. Inyan arbitavarim pata, as we said. Inyan Shabbos, how when it comes to the dinim of Shabbos? Melechas machshevas asra Torah. So you didn't violate Shabbos because that's only if you had the machshava to do the malacha. And there's no melechas machshevas. Inyan Golos, Is this considered like b'shoigeg? So potter, because maybe it's karv oinus. When eved potter Rav Shimon over Rabbanan. So when it comes to the din of an eved, it's a machlokas. Who's Rav Shimon and the Rabbanan? So let's continue. The Sanya. Hari Shahaya Rabo Roife. This is a Gemara in Kedushin, very interesting Gemara, which we had not too long ago. And his master was a doctor. He said, like, do some reparations of fixing my eye, or put some makeup or some medicine on it. And in the process of the surgery, he was blinded. Now we know that an Eved Kanaini goes free when the master blinds him or knocks out a tooth, or the other Chaf Daled Ivarim, as mentioned over there. Interestingly enough, on Daf Chaf Daled 24. So, what happens if Chater Lisheni, fix up my teeth, Vihipila, and he caused the tooth to fall out? So, Sachach Ba'adam Yotzel Cheres. I'm not sure how happy he is, but at least he can be free, so he can laugh at that, and he goes free. Even though the truth is, the kavana of the Adain was not to do this. It has to be with destruction. So therefore, according to Hashem Gamliel, in our case, since this was a case where the stone fell and it was not hashchasa, his intention was not to do damage, so the Eved would not go for it. Hikr ba v'shakcha. So what does that mean? So he, at one point, he remembered that there was a rock there, but then he forgot about it. So he's a little bit more negligent in this case. But Amad v'nafel, and again it fell. So Indian is he can chayiv always, because you're always chayiv. Indian dal devarim potter, because it's not karv l'mezid. Indian goes chayiv. Why? Tiamakra b'shkaga. When it says that you were b'shagig mechlal dahavi le'yediyah, he knew the rock was there. So since he had some element of yediyah, so therefore he's already considered like a shagig. He's not karv l'oinus in that case, because it's not like he never knew about it at all. Indian Shabbos part, as we said, Malachas Machshavos Asotara. Again, Indian Eved, again, it's the Pluto of Hashem Rabbanan. Okay. Fine. So look at this Rashi before, where it said Potter in the other case where you didn't know about it at all. The Gabi Gols said Maki Nefesh B'Shkaga. V'lo Mikra Shkaga El Hecha Dahavi L'Yadiyah Mikara. You had to at least know from the beginning. V'zo Hikram L'Mo'ilam. The guy never knew there was a rock there, then he's Potter. However, the Rashi later on, L'Inyan Gols, where you're Chayiv, when you knew about it before, so therefore you're Chayiv. And he says, Lishna Achrina v'ashilot sada pratlischavin depat megos. Okay. Nischavin lizark shtayim v'zark arba. So let's say the person had the intention to only throw something 2, right? And then he ends up throwing it further. He ends up throwing it 4. So, and it ends up damaging someone. But he really only meant to throw a light little throw and ended up going further than he was anticipating. So in the Zikin is always high. In the Dal Devar Potter, because again it's not bemazed. In Shabbos Malachas Machshavas Be'inon. So you still need Malachas Machshavas. In Golus, Asher Lot Sadam Rachmana, that it was not like ambushed. Pratlis Chavin was there Shtayim V'Zar Dalad. So in that case he says no, because he didn't have an intention to want to kill the guy, so it's not a case of Asher Lot Sada, and therefore he's potter in that case. Indian Eved potter Hashem Rabbanan again. Nischav Lizark Arba V'Zark Art Shmoina. Let's say he wanted to throw it 4, but again he threw it further. But again, the difference in this case is that he had the intention of Lagabi Shabbos. There's an Isser of Dal Damos, so whether it's 4 or 8, it's still Usser. So Indian is Zikin Chaim. Indian Dal Devarim is still potter. In Shabbos. So listen to this. This is more in Shabbos. But Oimer kol makam shetirta tanuach in ilo lo. If he said wherever I want it to land, then he's going to be chayiv, because whether it landed at 4 or 8, his intention was still for it to go outside of Daled Amos. Says Rashi, chayiv shahar yesh kan malachas machsheves the zark arba. He did throw it 4 amos. Of the schav lizark shtayim v'zark arba. He only intended to do 2. If he'll omer kol makom shetirtza tanuach potter. If you even if he said that, he'd still be potter. Sheikar machshavta in a malacha. It has to be malachas machshavas. So you actually have to have the machshava of doing a malacha. So therefore, if you did it and you had the intention of it throwing it 4, which is an isser malacha, and even though you threw it further, but you said I don't care wherever it lands between 4 and 8, it's fine. So you're gonna be chayiv. Otherwise, you're potter. In Golas, ashulot tzada again is pratless chavul zerk arba v'zerk shmini. You're gonna be potter there, which is the same thing as we said before. 2 to 4, 4 to 8 doesn't make any difference when it comes to murder. It only matters in Shabbos. Indian Eved Pluter Shemgulav Rabbanon. Okay, stop here for a second. Let's look at question TB 15. Nischavin Lizark Stein Vizark Arba. Mahadin Indian Nizakin. So you're going to be chayiv. Indian Dal Dvar Potter. Indian Shabbos. That's a hard question. Indian Golos Potter. Indian Eved Machlok. Indian Nizakin chayiv. Dal Dvar Potter. Indian Shabbos. I wrote. Oh, Stein V'Zark Arba. All right, Potter. Indian Golos Potter. Indian Eved Machlokas. Oh, I thought it was 4 to 8. Okay, that's not what the question was. Nischavin Lizark Stein V'Zark Arba. So that was a little bit of a nicer question. Could have asked it much harder than that. Okay. That was TB 15. So they could have asked it 4 to 8. That would have been a little bit of a harder question. Okay. That was nice. Fine, weiter. Vyoma Rabba. Zar Kli Marosh Gag. Let's say you throw a vessel from a roof. Uva Achav Shivro B'makel. And someone smashes it and breaks it. So he broke it. Potter. My time, Mana Tavir Tavar. Because of the din that he broke a Kli that was already broken. And it was destined to break. So therefore, even though it's true that they broke it a second earlier, he didn't really do anything. Okay. V'yamarabba zar kli maroshagag. Let's say you threw a vessel. V'hayu tachtav karim uksasais. And let's say underneath there's pillows and blankets. Ba'achav v'silkan. And let's say someone comes and removes them. Okadam v'silkan potter. So in that case, potter. Who's potter? It says Rashi, Shahari Mizrikaso Eno Seif L'Shaver. So the person who threw them is potter. My time of in the Shadi Psuki Masake Gire. The arrows stopped. Look at Rashi. Shar Mizrikaso Ein Seif L'Shaver. When you threw it, it wasn't going to break. Achi Natal Hakarim until the pills removed. Possession Natal Hakarim. Interestingly enough, even the person who removed the pillows and blankets is also potter because that's a grama. V'yamarabba, zark tinik m'roshagag. Say, God forbid, someone throws a child off a roof. Uvo achav kibloi, and someone else catches it, b'sayif, with a knife. In other words, they kill the child as it's in the direction of falling. Put Rabbi Yehuda ben Besever Rabbanan, the Sanya. Hikua Sarbani Adam Basar Makalais. If you have 10 people hitting a person with 10 different sticks, Ben Bavasachas, Ben Bazachas, whether it's happening one after the other or all at the same time, the din is Kuan, as we continue Chav Zayin Amanav, Paturin. They're all pater. Why? Says Rashi. To be inon shiaka kol nefesh adam. To be sentenced to death for murder, you have to be the one that actually did the whole murder. Kol hanefesh vein kan maki kol nefesh paturim emisa. That's the reason why you're going to be pater. However, back in the Gemara, if it's one after the other, so one after the other. So the last person is going to be chayiv because he brought about the death earlier. Says Rashi, which is very interesting. We don't care necessarily about a kli. If it's falling and you smash it, it's potter. We don't consider property the same thing as a human being. Persons considered to be on a much higher level, and therefore because of that, you're going to be chayav if you kill that child in the middle, even though he would have died anyway. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see a few more questions. Question 2. Achar dechsib b'chayvel kitin mum b'mitu kasher asol my isruach petza tachas potza shma mina tarti. So what are the two things, as we see on Chav Vav Amud Beis? What do we learn out from petza tachas petza? So it teaches us l'chayvoy al shoygid kamezid ve'al onis karatzayin, and also it teaches us litin sar b'makum nezek. So those are the two things. That was the shma mina tarti. Okay. Question 3. Hoysa even munachas lo b'cheikai v'amad v'nafla le'inyan ma ika nafka min ladina im hikerba mikaydem o shlo hikerba. Very good question. What is the difference if you're hikerba or lo hikerba? And the answer is going to be gullus. Let's see how he writes it. Le'inyan gullus. That's all he says. So v'lo hikerba, right, is one case, and we said in Golus you're going to be potter. However, when it comes to let's see, hikerba, in that case you will be in Golus chayiv. The Yomer b'shkaga machal dahavi yediyah v'hahavi liyediyah. That was question 3. Okay. Let's see, we have another question here. Question TA 14. Le'inyan ma yesh chiluk l'dina bein ha'isa even munachas lo b'cheiko v'lo hikerba l'bein hikerba. Same question, that comment.